Welcome to Meet the Docs with your host, Grant Otten, brought to you by Columbus Community Hospital.
Welcome to another segment of Meet the Docs here, presented by the Columbus Community Hospital. We're actually in the Columbus Community Hospital in the orthopedic section. I'm with Dr. Fehringer here, Dr. Ed Fehringer. And I guess before we get started with anything, most people know you or probably have seen the commercials about the Simplicity system. So before we get into all the other stuff, I guess, can you tell me a little bit about how you kind of went on and created this system that is pretty revolutionary?
Sure. It's kind of a long story, but essentially during my last year of training in Seattle in 2000 and 2001, one of the other fellows and I, about the same age, we began talking, having all sorts of ideas about ways that we could potentially really change the way shoulder replacement was done. Certainly there were some introductory ideas in Europe, but we thought there were ways of really refining the procedure, the technique to make it simpler, better, more easy to put in, and therefore ultimately help more patients.
Very cool. Well, talking a little bit more about that training that led you up to the point where you created this awesome piece of work, I guess you want to call it. But what was that training that you did to lead you up to this point?
Starting in about 2001, we began having discussions all the time, and Sean and I, my good friend who's in Milwaukee, had constant discussions. I mean, 2, 3, 4 discussions a week about things. And we designed our first shoulder replacement system in 2008, but that was really to sort of gain kind of this foothold in the market, if you will. And it was sort of one of your more traditional designs, all along the line, sort of thinking about ways we could refine that further. And really make it easier for everybody, from the surgeon to the rep to the nurses to the folks that clean the instruments, to the patient ultimately, so that the procedure is easier for them. If it's easier for all of us, it's going to be better for them ultimately. And so it's been neat. I've been really fortunate, because of my relationship with my friend Sean. It's really allowed me to be exposed to some, world-class engineers. The team of engineers and surgeons that were put together through a company, which was now just recently merged or bought out by another company, has really been a real blessing to me. It's been really a fun thing to be part of, and without their help, obviously we would have gone nowhere, because lots of people have great had but to sometimes see them come to fruition in the medical field is, there's just so many hoops to jump through, and I wouldn't have had a clue without the relationships and experience of so many other people around us.
Well, you are a Columbus SCOTUS graduate, so you're from the area. Can you walk me through, I guess, your journey and why it is you decided to come back here to Columbus?
Yeah, that could take a while.
Well, the brief version's okay too.
Yeah. We'll give you the short version. I graduated from SCOTUS in 1987. Late in the spring of 1987, Dr. Simple actually came and spoke to our class, our human physiology class. And I was sort of enamored with his presentation and the slides that he showed, and for whatever reason, prior to that, I kind of thought I wanted to maybe follow in my father's footsteps and go to law school. And I actually wasn't that great at science. I was much better in math, and some of the other things with science wasn't something I was really great in. And I was so fascinated with his presentation, and I'm a little obsessive, and when I saw that, I just right then said, that's what I want to do. And so fast forward about 14 years, after 4 years of college at Creighton, and then 4 years of medical school at UNMC, and then 5 years of orthopedic surgery residency training at UNMC, and then 1 year of my shoulder and elbow fellowship in Seattle at the University of Washington. I got to actually see and experience shoulder surgery done at a really world-class level in Seattle. And at that point, that year, it was just a really fascinating year for me. I really yearn for continual knowledge and continual learning, and I love to help foster that as much as possible in the academic environment. And I was constantly learning in that city and at that university. And that really kind of spurned on so many other things. I like to think that my foundation and the development of that yearning for further knowledge and sort of the grit and the perseverance that I had to sort of see this thing through was all developed right here. Actually, originally as part of a community member here, and as somebody who grew up in this community, being able to take part in all sorts of activities. So.
Well, Dr. Fehringer, I appreciate you sitting down with me and talking a little bit and letting us get to know where the Simplicity system came from and where you came from. So,
yeah,
thanks.
all right. Yeah, you bet. Thanks.
All right, and thank you guys for joining us too for another segment of Meet the Docs here, presented by Columbus Community Hospital here in the Columbus Community Hospital, where you get to meet new physicians all the time. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.